last week, we masked off our birch trees to keep them white, and we drew 3 lines to create our landscape background. And this week, we are going to paint. Hello, my talented artists. You will get to move around the art room to go to the table with the color paint you want. I'm going to start at the yellow table, and I am going to use water to activate my watercolor that I choose. So first, I want to just make sure my brush has a little water, but not too much water, and then rub and rub and rub. The more you rub, the more pigment your paint will have. And that means that your paint will be darker the more you rub. And you can see that I really want a dark, dark yellow, so I am rubbing a whole lot. Rub and rub and rub, 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 dub. Don't forget to rub if you want nice dark paint. And then when it's time to paint, decide which section that you are going to paint and follow those lines that you drew last week for your landscape. I am going to paint the sky, and I'm going to start by painting the skyline, and then I'm going to fill in the rest of that shape with yellow. Be sure to look carefully and fill in your whole shape with the color that you choose. You don't have to just use one solid color for each shape, but you can. When you have filled it all in, painted it all in, you can leave that table and go to your next table, but leave your brush. Only take your painting. Now I'm going to go to the red table. I have decided that I want my sky to also have some red in it. So I am going to do a wet on wet technique. In watercolor, when you put paint on an area that's already wet, it spreads, the color spreads, and that is called bleeding. It's not dangerous, but it's called bleeding. So I want my sunrise or sunset to start with yellow and have some reds and oranges in it too. So I'm going to think about where I want to put my red. And you can kind of see what happens. You can still see the brush strokes, and I'm thinking that I want to blend those in. It looks pretty good the way it is now, but to blend it in and not have everything be orange, I need to wash my brush and have no paint on it, only water. So I'm going to wipe off some of the water because I don't want my brush to be too watery. And now I'm going to use little circle motions to blend in the red with the yellow. And red plus yellow makes, go ahead and call it out, friends. That's right, red plus yellow makes orange. I want to draw your attention to the brush strokes that I am creating in my painting. If you use more than one color, it will be easier to see the brush strokes. And the brush stroke is how you move your brush on the paper. So you're actually creating a kind of like lines. They could be curvy or long or short or dotted, and that really changes how your painting looks. I'm done with red for now. I'm gonna go to the green table. Remember, only bring your painting, leave your brush at the table that it was at the beginning. So all the brushes at the green table should stay at the green table. I need to activate my paint again. You might go to the table and see there's already some paint activated because other people have been painting. So if I just rub it a little bit, my green is going to be lighter green, and you might choose to do that. Okay, I'm going to rub it a little more. But one thing I want you to notice is that I did not paint right the shape, blub, blub, blub. I did not paint the shape that was right next to the sky that I painted, because the green would bleed into the sky, and I decided that I don't want green in my sky, and I don't want that color to bleed up into it. So I am choosing to skip a shape. You will maybe not finish all your painting this week. We will have 2 weeks for painting. So don't worry about rushing, and don't worry about painting all of your landscape. If you just paint 2 shapes, that's great. Oops, I flicked some dots of green just where I didn't want to, but look, I can erase it actually with a watered down brush. So just wash your brush really well, and then you can kind of erase any little spots of paint that got where you don't want it to be. Every time you are ready to leave a table, just wash your brush a little bit. Because look, I actually got some red on my green table brush, so it's really important to wash those brushes so the next person doesn't get a bad surprise. I'm going to leave the green table and I'm going to go to the blue table. This time I am going to paint the shape that's right next to the green, because I don't mind if a little blue gets into the green, and I'll tell you why. Because blue is one of the colors that makes green, so they harmonize. And I know that we'll just make a darker green if a little bit of blue bleeds up into the green part. That's okay. I'm still going to leave that yellow alone. I don't want to paint right next to it. I'm going to paint the shape that is right below that green shape. But you might say, Miss Karen's, now it looks like water. Well, you might want it to look like water. I actually don't want it to look like water, but I'm just going to paint this area blue. That's the underpainting. I'm going to paint some colors on top of the blue, and it won't look like water anymore, and I'll show you how I do that. I'm done with my blue, so now I'm going to wash my brush, put it back in, and go to the yellow table again. You can go back to the same colors any way you like. I got to activate my paint, and now I'm going to make a grassy brush stroke. And you're going to see that that blue is now transformed into shades of green, and it no longer looks like water, to me anyway. Maybe it looks like water with like some reeds or grasses growing out of it. Now I'm going to leave yellow, and I'm going to go to red table. I am going to add some little cute dots of red, and I'm going to see, maybe they're going to look like little berries, or maybe they're going to look like little flowers or leaves falling. I just want to add some more details to that front shape because it's closer to the viewer, and the viewer would see more details. All right, artists, I think you get the picture. It's your turn to start painting. And remember, we will have 2 weeks to paint, so don't worry about getting it all done, and really just enjoy. Have fun.